Kingstream Entertainment. Ruslan.
A few days ago, I made a video about the idea of democratic socialism and what would it look like if someone like AOC or Bernie took power and pushed some more of these, I guess you would say, leftist, democratic, socialistic, high tax policies in America, right? And this seems like where we're trending, just because I think the Republicans are doing such a bad job of branding themselves with candidates like Donald Trump, even though they got some reasonable ideas. I just think that this is kind of what things are going, and I wanted to reply to some of these comments that I've been getting because I believe that it'll help you guys out in terms of processing this. And I did a video tying in 50 Cent endorsing Trump. I did a video about that. More and more people kind of trending. Ice Cube meeting with the Trump administration. Obviously Kanye with the MAGA hat. A lot of, it doesn't take much. You get exposed to a Thomas Sowell. You get exposed to some of these ideas that are very conservative fiscally. And you start kind of, you can view the world different. It doesn't take a lot to red pill somebody, right? And so I want to bring up a couple comments that tie into this loosely. And this specifically is in response to my video about AOC, Bernie Sanders becoming in control of the future of America, the trajectory of America, how we view money, okay? And so here is a comment that says, in all honesty, I think you're conflating the kind of democratic socialism being pushed by the Bernie and AOC with a Venezuelan type situation and maybe needed to draw a distinction between the two. As far as I'm concerned, they never actually say capitalism is bad or actively try to abolish capitalism. More so, they speak to this existential corruption that does exist because of crony capitalism. Crony capitalism, I am not for. Crony capitalism is when the government bails out big corporations. It happens all the time. It's happening right now with the airlines. It's happened with the banks in 2008. It happened with the airlines in 2001. This happens all the time where if we're really a free market, then certain businesses and big corporations have to fail. But we're not, and we have a hybrid of the two, right? So, and just to make a distinction, Venezuela, highest oil reserves in the world. They go socialism. Economy collapses. All bad. Some would say it's because of the embargoes with America, having embargoes on them. I don't know the ins and outs of that specific situation, but different type of socialism than what's happening in the Scandinavian countries. This person's saying I need to make a distinction. My point for making the video about AOC, Bernie Sanders taking over, is just to prep you guys to say, listen, if they take over, it's not going to be communist China in America. It's not going to turn into North Korea. It's not going to turn into Venezuela. It's going to look more like a Scandinavian model, but we have to count the cost. We have to count the cost. And I'm going to get to the cost here in a second. Scandinavian countries are not socialist. They're a mixed economy, just like the U.S. This is true. The difference being that they learn more on the socialist side with the programs like healthcare, education. This is probably why these leftists say they favor a Scandinavian type situation, yet they get straw man with Venezuela or communism BS way too much. Fair enough. I really don't get it when people already acknowledge that Scandinavian countries are not even socialist. Capitalism exists there. True. Look up if Sweden is socialist, and you'll find a history of them becoming socialist in the 70s and then going back to more private sector stuff. Socialist capitalism exists there just the same, and there has plenty of millionaires and billionaires too. Point being, people in Scandinavian countries still have opportunities to become successful and wealthy, even more so given that they don't have to worry about medical bills and access to education. They have a nation of educated, healthier, more productive society, and I'm sure you will see much lower levels of poverty, unemployment, crime when looking at statistics. Lastly, have you done any research on Dinesh? And so Dinesh is the guy that I was quoting in that video. So the point being that, hey, what's happening in Scandinavia isn't really socialism. That's where Bernie wants to take stuff. Okay, fair enough. Here's the difference, though. Okay? Here's the difference. This is the idea where I think it gets flawed, right? Here's another comment kind of on the same video. Dinesh is a right-wing shell. By the way, just because somebody's right-wing doesn't necessarily mean that I can't consume content from them or I can't hear them out on their ideas. Y'all got to get out of your echo chamber, because somebody's a Republican, somebody's right-wing. It doesn't mean I don't listen to them. I listen to Ben Shapiro. I check these guys out. I don't agree with everything they say, but I don't agree with everything anyone says. So she's a right-wing shell. Okay, every human system of government has its advantages and disadvantages. I will take my chances with democratic socialism a la Scandinavia. Okay, cool. Here's where we have to do the math. I talked about the VAT tax in these countries. What is a VAT tax? It's basically another sales tax. It's a value-added tax. When you factor in what the average person makes in these countries and you factor in the average person here in America, with all of our taxes combined, the average person, the average American is paying between 20 to 25% out in taxes, 20 to 25% out, right? Just the average person in America. When you factor in over there, when you factor in the value added tax, when you factor in all the different taxes, the sales tax, the income tax, so on and so forth, they're paying out more than 40 to 50%. The average person. It's the average. Now, granted, there's going to be people on the poor people that aren't paying anything, but by and large, they're paying out more in taxes. So here's the question. And I don't even have the answer. I'm still thinking through this stuff. I supported Andrew Yang. I support more of a, hey, let's ease back some of the welfare system and give people the money in their hands and let them decide what they want to do with it. I think that makes more sense because I think our welfare system is bureaucratic. But here's what you have to factor in with the democratic social policies is the error that we make is that a Bernie Sanders keeps talking about taxing the millionaires and billionaires and millionaires and you can't do what Scandinavia has done. You can't do what those parts of the world has done, what Norway, Denmark, Sweden has done. You can't do that by only taxing the rich. That burden is going to fall on the middle class and the lower middle class. It is inevitable. Their top tax rate is 60%. Our top tax rate under Biden's plan, which is the reason why 50 Cent just endorsed Trump, is 62% in New York and 62% in California. So, Scandinavia's, those countries technically have a lower top tax rate than what we're proposing here. You cannot reach the level of social safety net, welfare state, free education, free healthcare without the burden falling on the average American. So the question is, are we okay with that? Are you okay with, say, 20% of your revenue is going out right now? You say you make $50,000, $60,000 a year. 20% of your revenue is going out right now. You're taking home $40,000 a year. Are you okay with taking home $30,000 a year? Are you okay with that? I don't know. I don't work a job. My taxes aren't set up like that. I'm writing the government a check. I'm self-employed. I think that's the part when people say stuff like this. I'll take my chances with democratic socialism a la Scandinavia. Okay. Cool. Are you willing to pay for it? That's the error that I think the AOCs and the Bernie Sanders are in, is they want all of the funding to come from the wealthy. And not only is that just technically not fair when, again, more than 50% of somebody's revenue, government's a partner now, right? In my opinion. On top of which, are we okay with the average person in America paying 50, 60% of their income on taxes if it creates more safety nets, if it creates better healthcare system, and by the way, most of these countries that we're talking about are way smaller, like substantially smaller. I think Sweden has a population of like 10 million, right? That's a smaller country. These are not, we have 300 million people in America, 350. That is, you have to consider that. So I don't know. I want to hear from you guys. Like those of you guys that are going to be in the comment section. Are you okay with potentially taking home a third less or a fourth less, considering that you're not a broke college student, you're not really thinking about this? Are you okay with taking home less if you have more programs and free education and free healthcare? Because I guess my brothers in Canada would say they are okay with, paying a little bit more in taxes, but having better programs, right? And if you guys are in Canada, let me know. How does that work out for you guys? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, right? Like, I really don't know the answer to that. I think by the time any of this stuff really takes effect, I'll be fairly wealthier. So I can set up my S-Corp and have my, deductions in place and figure out ways to pay the least amount of taxes, which every entrepreneur does, by the way. That's why we have accountants, right? But that's just the truth of the situation, right? Like, are you okay with that? I want to hear from you guys.
Kingstream Entertainment. Ruslan.